Well, here we are, Installer Show Day 2, 2025 here at the Birmingham NEC. Yesterday, full-on day, lots going on, lots of interviews and plenty of content for Big B TV. Today, on Day 2, our first guest of the day is Matthew Glanfield from Blum. And yeah, Matthew, welcome to the Installer Show. What do you think so far?
Fantastic show. I mean, it's a great turnout just wandering around this morning.
Yeah.
Great to see so many feet wandering around the show, asking questions, engaging in conversations with people. Like you said, it's the first one of the day. Haven't been able to see the whole show yet, but can't wait to have a walk around, see what's on display. Yeah, and what's going on. Yeah,
amazing. Good. Well, look, tell us about Blum then. So we'll talk about the partnership between Big B and Blum in a second. But tell us a little bit about you guys. I can't imagine there'll be anybody in the sector that don't know who you are. But let's just say anyway, what do you do?
Well, you know, if there's a piece of metal in your kitchen, hinge, runner, lift system, that's us.
Got it.
But you won't just find us in the kitchen, you'll find us in bedrooms and other living spaces as well. It's an ever-growing entry into those markets, as we see daily. Also, you just go around any manufacturer or production, you'll often see a Blum assembly device at the heart of it, helping them insert hinges, drill holes, and support the general manufacturing process.
German business?
No.
Misconception.
Austrian.
An Austrian business. Okay.
Austrian.
Is some headquarters based out there, and you're over here in Milton Keynes, right?
Yeah. So Julius Blum, 1952, from his blacksmithing workshop, set up Julius Blum GmbH, and from there we've grown from the family business that we were there to well over 8,500 employees globally.
Wow, huge business. Amazing business.
One of the best things about working for Blum is those family values that the Blum family held are still present today. And it's nice because it's not very often that you can go into a corporate entity, which we are, but actually see those heartfelt values lived by employees on a daily basis.
Yeah, that's lovely. Yeah,
it really is.
And it gets lost with big businesses ordinarily, doesn't it? Yeah,
it can. Yeah,
absolutely superb. So, what's happening in your world at the moment? What are you guys working on? What's new? I'm sure there's loads.
Well, it's the most common question that we get asked. In fairness, we've just had Intism over in Cologne. So there, we introduced a new version of our Revago. So Revago, for those people who don't know, is a pocket door system. Fantastic system, far more resilient than you'd even imagine. And we've just taken it from being standard heights from floor to ceiling in the UK, but now it can go from 1,100 units all the way up to 3 meters tall.
Incredible.
So the design possibilities have increased anyway. I mean, pocketable spaces can create huge new living spaces, whether you're in compact living or even open larger living, because they can form the divides in the living space.
Incredible.
So being able to go from the smaller size 1100s, which could just be your entertainment unit, all the way up to 3 meter high in a big open space really does maximise on the possibilities.
Yeah, that's absolutely superb.
Amazing product, fantastic.
One thing that impressed me, and it was a good few years ago now you've opened it, I'm fairly certain it's still there, but the Blum experience. So this is where you kind of take visitors through the history of the business and essentially bringing you through to current day. Is that still available, and is that something people can still come along to? Because I remember coming out of that place genuinely wowed by it. It was incredible, and Amanda, I think, was delivering it at the time.
She was,
and it was just an incredible experience for me. Is that something that's still available?
Yeah, I mean, as with anything that we do, we try to evolve it and iterate on it each time. And it's gone through strength through strength. We now do bespoke days, and they can be 1 day or two on different segments of the market. So it could be that we're focusing on retailers, or we're working with retailers with their installers, or perhaps it's a manufacturer day or a distributor, and working with their customers too. So it's not all about Blum. We're there to make sure that our customers maximise on the opportunity and our services, and also get the thorough Blum experience.
Really good, and I absolutely love that. I just genuinely remember coming away from Milton Keynes being, great. And I've been around a fair few factories around the globe, but coming away from that Blum experience, and just the ethos of the place and the, you know, the you know, everything, the energy that was kind of put into creating this space was phenomenal, and I just was really wowed by it. So yeah, I'm glad it's still going.
I mean, if the staff's enthusiasm doesn't get you energized and inspired, then we've got many different displays for different living spaces to just help you innovate and get ideas.
I remember noticing back there, well, I don't think it was part of the Blum experience at the time, but I remember you had a space there and it was really focused on installations. You had units that you moved around and could move stuff about and really see the sort of inner workings of a kitchen in particular. And I remember thinking at the time, it was very early in the relationship, that this is a business that were, you know, very understanding of their market, but really valued installations. And that excited me as well, because not a lot of businesses do, you know. Installations, you know, for me and my experience over the years, it was one of the reasons why I kind of launched this thing back in the day, was that installations was kind of a bolt-on to the industry. It was the thing that, you know, we knew needed to happen, but we didn't really talk about it much, maybe because we didn't really understand it or wanted to understand it. But I remember coming to Blum and that wasn't the case. You kind of, you really brought installations into the heart of it. Is that, why is that then? Why do Blum really see that as a key component to their business? Installations, of course.
I mean, it doesn't matter whether you're a supplier, manufacturer, whether you're a retailer or whether you're an installer. We're all part of the same industry. Some people would describe it as a chain. I like to prefer it to imagine it as a weave. There isn't a part of us that isn't interconnected with each segment of the industry. We're one giant community. And if you think of us as a chain, it's very easy as a supplier or a manufacturer to go, well, the installer is too far removed from me to offer support, but that's not how we feel.
That's clear. That's very clear.
So, for example, you were talking about the Blum Experience Centre. We've had a training facility there for manufacturers, installers, anyone to come and receive free training on our products or discuss innovation and inspirational ideas right there, and we can mock things up, prototype stuff with them, or we can demonstrate how easy it is actually to use our product and how high quality it is too. We have an addition to that space now, so we have a messy space where things can get a bit, you know, sawdusty.
Very good.
And that has all of our assembly devices, so we can actually demonstrate how that can speed up processes and also how they can be used to save you time. A lot of our assembly devices, they can save fitters and installers thought time, installation time.
And that's you know, that's really important now, more now than ever, when we've got a skill shortage, which again we'll come on to, but we've got a skill shortage, so anything that we can do to improve efficiency of those people that are here obviously helps availability for retailers, for consumers, and for the installers themselves. So that's, you know, it's great to see that level of thinking being put into product innovation and design. It's, you know, that's incredibly important. So okay, well, let's move on to the skill shortage then. So I mean, we've been talking about it for years. Blum have been on the journey with us for many years now, and that's been, you know, incredibly appreciative. You know, we've been incredibly appreciative of all the support that you guys put in for us over the years. I think we know you've answered the question why, but the skill shortage, you've been almost compelled to support us on an even bigger level with your sort of your support of Funding the Future last year. What was the thought process about that then? So why do you go above and beyond in terms of your support around the skill shortage? Are you seeing that? How are you feeling the effects of that? And what does it mean to you as a business?
I mean, there's quite a few things that are indicators for us. So we've had a technical support team for well over 20 years at this point. So we've been in direct contact with every part of the industry, supporting them with their technical questions about our product, helping them solve problems. You know, even this day and age, you send us a CAD file, we'll help you figure out what's going on in it and how to populate it, or even just resolve issues around it. But it means that we've got direct conversation going on with fitters and installers. Some of the things is we speak to a lot of the same people, and we hear the same stories over and over again. Installers are part of this industry. They're a key component. They're the ones that they're in there in consumers' houses.
Front line.
And consumers, we love them, but consumers expect so much more these days. And installers are the ones that have to deliver it and manage their expectations and problem solve when the plumbing's not quite right, when the electrics are in the wrong way, or when maybe, God forbid, a cabinet doesn't quite fit because the wall's wonky.
Yeah, yeah. So many reasons why it won't work. Yeah, absolutely.
Exactly. And if you think about that, even for a briefest of moment, installers, they need to know how a cabinet goes together. They need to know how worktops are applied to it. They need to know how the product goes in. They need to have some level of electrical expertise. They need to have some knowledge of what they can do with and not do with gas and water.
Yeah, yeah.
That's a huge skill set.
Yeah, and responsibility.
It is, yeah.
Yeah.
So for us, we want to support the installers. They're a key component. They are so important. If we can support them in any way we can to get them their knowledge, their standards, the training and certifications that are available to them.
Yeah.
First of all, it'll build up credibility with them, with the consumer, which is ever more important these days.
Absolutely. Yeah. Going back to that expectation bit, consumers kind of expect it, right?
Yeah, they do, and they do their own research now.
They do, yeah. Yeah.
So when they see that a product isn't doing what they expect, the first person they point their finger at is the installer, which may not even be their fault.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And this is why we are so passionate about the installer.
Sure.
They're the ones there. They're important. Blum, we can only do so much. We can teach them how to install our product, to save them time, to get perfect results, basically fit and forget.
Yeah, yeah.
But we feel like we can do more. So, for example, we're very passionate about apprenticeships. Many of our subsidiaries globally, driven by Austria, have apprenticeship schemes.
Do you think that's a really good question? Because apprenticeships hasn't really quite worked for us yet here, and there's a million reasons why. We hear a lot from installers, in particular, around the support that is or isn't available to them to take on an apprentice. Are you seeing other countries? Obviously, you're a global brand.
Yeah.
Are you seeing apprenticeships work better in other countries?
Yes.
You are. Okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
And is there any indication why you think that's the case? Are your colleagues talking to you about the successes and why it's successful?
A couple of my colleagues have suggested it's about the level of engagement you get from educational facilities, and also whether or not the industry is regulated, not regulated, and whether or not you've got political support.
Yeah, yeah.
But the key factor is about having the right partners involved in an apprenticeship program.
Yeah.
Because apprenticeship programs are only successful if the right partners are there helping to deliver course content that's actually useful.
So true, yeah.
I mean, if you think back to school, it trained me.
It was a while back.
Yeah, I know. It's a while back for me, but effectively it just trained me to play Trivial Pursuit really well.
Absolutely, absolutely.
I mean, my kids say what they're going to do with algebra, but I found a use for it.
There's probably some use in there somewhere.
But what the apprenticeships really taught us is, as a person learns and develops and comes across new challenges, you have to support them at every stage.
Yeah.
So this again brings me back to the installer. So an apprenticeship at installer level would be great to enter new skills, fresh minds into the market. But we mustn't also forget that there are people that have been living the installer life day in, day out. And just because they've installed well over 10,000 drawers doesn't mean that they can't have the additional support.
Yeah, yeah. I think, having spoken to a lot of installers over the years, they'll kind of cite a number of reasons as to why they don't want to take on apprentice. But what it does boil down to is support, and I think industry getting behind them. And I think the commitment that kind of you made for us last year, but we'll talk about that now, really does demonstrate the levels of support that is actually needed from industry. I genuinely don't believe it's a nice to do anymore. I think it's essential for businesses to get behind apprentices, because ultimately, if we look at the statistics and we look at the research that was recently published by Trustmarket as an example, those guys were in yesterday talking to us, we have got an ageing workforce, and we haven't got a mechanism yet of backfilling that. So we've got a real issue. There was talk about it being a skills gap. There is now talk about it being a skills crisis, and that's not a local thing. That's a national issue, and probably even a global issue. But some of those countries that you operate in are obviously one step ahead in terms of their apprenticeship programs being really successful. So we've got a bit of catching up to do here. But what you did last year was a really quite a noble thing, and you stepped up and said, and it was actually part of InstallerSHOW 2024.
It was indeed.
And you said, what we'll do is that we'll support some businesses to take on apprentices via supporting them to become members of the organisation, our organisation, and then we could step in and support them to take on apprentices. It's quite a clever mode, really, because what you did is that you took away any sort of preconceived barriers around joining an organisation that, in fact, a lot of people haven't heard of, you know, and that's the reality of it. So why did, you know, why was that an important thing for you to do? Because you put your hand in your pocket for, you know, a very decent part of your budget, I would imagine. So how did you get that over the line? I know you're the boss, but you needed to have that conversation with a few. How did that go internally with you?
Yeah, I mean, as you know, I'm part of a leadership team, so we've got a lot of experience and expertise to draw upon. The installer as an area that we want to focus on and support is incredibly important to all of us. So one of the things we often talk about is removing barriers. And honestly, with installers, they have a lot of barriers in place.
They do,
so for example,
and a lot of those financial, to be fair.
Yeah, absolutely. If they don't work a day, they don't earn money.
That's it.
So just giving them access to you guys and all the resources that you have and materials, we just tore that barrier down. And that's what we wanted to do.
Great.
And we wanted it to be focused on those who aren't at the end of their career, where they might have the financial means to, you know, have a membership with yourself. But what about the people starting out? What are people who are trying to enter the industry? We've got to pull down those barriers to get those people who are enthusiastic about doing the job into the industry. Likewise, if we can pull down a few barriers to keep those people who are thinking about exiting, we should do that too.
Even better, So what I mean, great. In terms of the support, superb. Can't fault it. But we're not getting that from everybody, you know, and there are a lot of businesses out there that are choosing not to for whatever reason. And listen, I can understand. We live in a very fragile world at the moment where, you know, budgets are important because we genuinely don't know what's around the corner. And there's lots of things globally that are happening, sadly more now than ever, that are affecting business decisions. But, you know, what would you say to other businesses, you know, I mean, maybe even some of your competitors, Matthew, to be perfectly blunt, because, you know, I've always been a believer that we should all collaborate, no matter where you're from and you know, what part of the industry you're from. We should work together in fixing some of these problems. What would you say to these businesses, as a business yourself that has stepped up and made the difference? What's the sort of conversations you're going to have with them around, you know, supporting this?
We live in unprecedented times. We came out of a long period of stability in terms of internationalism. And now it seems like there's a new drama almost every week. COVID taught a lot of businesses a lot of lessons, and it's very easy in these unprecedented times and also post-COVID to focus on yourself, about focusing on what you deliver, what services you can deliver. But what I would say is just remember, we are part of a larger community.
We are,
and we need every member of the community. Without competition, there's no innovation and there's no inspiration. Without installers, no one's actually going to install these kitchens. So I would say we need to support every part of the industry that we can. And there's no more vital component that's under threat right now than the installer.
I couldn't agree more. And it's you know, it's a conversation that I've been shouting for a long time. I will say, however, we have seen some great momentum in people getting involved in the conversation. You know, you'll even see the KBB review today for this show. Front page is around installation, is around skills gap. And I think people are sitting up and hearing, but I think we need to see a lot less people nodding and not acting, and a lot more people taking that nod forward into supporting what we're trying to achieve. Because I think there's this kind of misconception that there's this big engine somewhere that's just kind of taking care of this in the background, and there isn't. You know, we're responsible for fixing some of this stuff, and I have to say that, you know, the support that you guys have shown over the years has been second to none. Absolutely, I think it's been, you know, an absolute credit to the vision within the business globally, from a headquarters point of view in Austria, not in Germany. that has created some of this support. So, you know, I want to thank you for that, and, you know, thank you for everything that you've done. So, what are we going to do next? That's the question. So, you know, we got a bit of work to do still. What do you think we should be doing next? You know, as an organisation, what would you like to see from us? I'll put you on the spot now.
You have.
Sorry.
I've been a firm believer in a long time in joint training. So finding the right partner and creating the right value proposition, adding the right value to get the installers there and talk about what we can deliver as a group. So for me, you're perfectly placed, almost as a neutral party, to have conversations with many people, to find the right partners to bring something like that together. Likewise, you're in the perfect place to make sure that all parts of the industry are still continue to be as involved in the conversation. Not everyone may be doing something, but if they're involved, that's the first step.
I think that's right.
Because if you're involved in the conversation, sooner or later you're going to hear a topic, a subject, or an idea that your ears will prick up and you go, there's an opportunity there. Or there is something I can do. And it may not be reaching into your pocket. Maybe it's another way, providing additional support from an element of your organisation that already exists.
Or even using the brand or your audience to be able to amplify the message. That can sometimes be as useful as dipping your hand in your pocket. So I think a lot of businesses kind of have this misconception that it's all about, you know, dipping your hand in the marketing budget to throw into this sort of hat that they don't really understand. But some of it is just literally amplifying the message. And what we've done here at InstallerSHOW is a really good example of that. We know conversation is key, so it's good that you kind of recognise that as a thing to do. But no, listen, absolutely fantastic. Matthew, I want to thank you for joining us today, and for your continued support. I would say watch this space. I think there's plenty for us to do.
Conversation's not over.
The conversation is not over, but for all of you who's watching, thank you very much for supporting the channel, Big B TV, and stay with us. We've got lots more content over the next couple of days, and we'll speak to you soon. Thanks very much.